This is Emily Leach, founder of the Freelance Conference, and I am here with Lamine Zarrad and with the CEO of Joust. Have you guys heard of Joust? I don't know about you, but I had not until about 2, maybe 3 months ago. And it's been brought up two or three times since by different people. And this is somewhat of an honor to me to be able to get to talk to you, Lamine, and just find out a little bit more about Joust. I've been reading on the website, and it looks like you guys are really trying to fix or be the not the stopgap, but that thing in the middle between freelancers, independent workers, solo professionals, how they're doing their banking, how they're setting aside money, how they're making sure that they have savings accounts. And it looks like you guys have some neat plans for the future, which we can talk about at the end if we have some time. So what made you start this? Let's start there.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, first of all. I'm excited to be here. So Joust is my second fintech or finance and banking type startup, and both sort of focused on populations that are underserved by banks. My first company was called Token. We essentially helped and assisted high-risk businesses like dispensaries in Colorado in obtaining banking services where they couldn't otherwise. And so kind of de-risking them, right? Creating profiles that banks understood, and as a consequence, extended services that they're definitely entitled to. And the reason we're doing this is same drive, right? Same kind of an internal drive. I'm an immigrant. I came to U.S. from former USSR. My family escaped an ethnic cleansing that occurred in one of the republics, and then we became refugees for six years in Moscow, and we kept completely outside of the system, and certainly had no access to banking and operating cash-only economy. And it was not just daunting, but it was definitely restrictive to our growth as a family, as individuals, and so that's always been in the back of my mind. After I came to U.S. and I kind of joined the finance banking community, Merrill Lynch, Bank of America. I worked for banks like USAA, Tudor, Pickering Holt, and then became a federal bank regulator specifically to help people obtain access. And I decided then to go and do my own thing and actually build banking solutions versus kind of regulating banks. So that's the big why, right? The philosophical why. Why we would do what we do specifically for self-employed freelancers, small businesses, we've identified that what's happened is that the way people work is changing, right? And that, I'm preaching to the choir here, but the way people work, and it's important to recognize that. I mean, there's a lot of news coverage, but no one really talks about how it's changing, in what ways, what are the deficiencies. It's not always sunshine and roses all the time, right? When you're independent. Yeah. But it is liberating. It is absolutely liberating. It all sort of leads to the financial crash of 2008, where the banking system failed most Americans. Right. And I was one of those Americans, and I was inside of the financial institution that failed people. And I remember people walking out with boxes, realizing that banking is broken, and it certainly will never be the same. And then really sort of being empowered to get out there and do it themselves, right? The American dream of gold watch and 20 years into a corporation in retirement kind of completely evaporated overnight, and people decide to carve their own paths. But it's a tough sort of a thing to execute on. And what we've observed is that folks are operating in a way that's completely unprotected. And so what I mean by that, there's not a tool out there that helps you, for instance, collect on your invoices and payments. And so what happens is that you get out there, you send an invoice, and if the user or your client rather doesn't pay you, you left completely stiffed, and there's no recourse whatsoever. And so we thought, how can we address that problem, right?
I had the same question.
Yeah, without like getting into collections, without doing traditional stuff, without loans or even insurance, right? None of those things are practical. So, as a freelancer or self-employed, I think folks know that really well. And, if someone doesn't pay you, it stings. It can be damaging. We've had folks tell us that they lost homes and lost possessions, cars, maxed out credit cards borrowed from family members, and we thought this is unacceptable. Let's figure out a way to solve it. And I'm getting long-winded here, but really what we did, we looked back at some of our previous work with Token and helping dispensaries get banking, and what we created there was a unique solution, a way for us to look at those dispensaries' clients independently. And so it created these profiles that were dynamic based on those businesses' interactions with their clients. And we said, hey, if we can risk rate freelancers' clients, then perhaps we could then guarantee their invoices, right? And that's how Joust was sort of born as a concept. I'll be more than happy to dive deeper into it.
Yeah, I mean, because that is a great, it's funny. I've been freelancing since 1992. And I would say about 10, 12 years ago, there was a group of us that lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we had almost word for word the statements that you just made. How could we solve this, as a group of people for other freelancers? And none of us had the banking background. We didn't have the background that we needed in place. And so I've gone different routes. I've created a community. I've created an event, things that I can use, the strengths that I have. Yeah, so it's given me the opportunity to meet humans like you that can do it. So yeah, I'd be happy to have you dive into that a little bit more. We may end up going a little bit longer than 10 or 15 minutes if you have it, because this is a huge step for the freelance space, because that's probably what makes it the hardest and the scariest is, what if I do go out and trust this client with 40 hours of my time? It doesn't even have to be months worth. Sometimes it is months worth. And they think they have the money, they want to have the money, but they don't when I get there. Yeah. I'm out a week and rent is still due in 7 days from this week, or something like that. Those are real scenarios.
Exactly. And they happen every day, and they happen to us, right? So I never quote unquote freelance, but I've been an entrepreneur for quite some time. And running a very small business is a very similar experience, right? You send an invoice and then you pray that you get paid on time because you have so many other bills. Sometimes you have subcontractors you have to pay. Sometimes you just have to buy supplies and a number of other things. Sometimes it's just rent. And so it was definitely personal for me. I'll be more than happy to explain how we do it. It's really exciting and kind of a novel way in using technology to do something good for a change.
Well, because I noticed on your site, I did go through and read your site. One of the things that you really talk about in there is it takes trust. You got to trust in you. You're the one that took that jump, and to take this thing that's already big and scary that you've done, and then move it off of traditional banking onto a platform like ours takes trust. Yeah. So I think opening that box is how we get there.
Yeah, and a trust is a two-way street, right? And so we have to trust you, and you have to trust us a little bit, and then things happen. So the way we do this, we said, there's no way we can guarantee or insure your invoices if you're like sending invoices somewhere else. And so it would be really tough for a startup to start an insurance company, for instance, that requires a lot of capital. So what can we do? And the answer was buying invoices from our customers as you send them, right? So create an invoicing tool. And as you send that invoice, Joust takes ownership of it. And then we can give you money associated with that invoice if we trust you, right? And we have to trust you. And we developed ways to build that trust fast. And then we collect it from your client. And of course, we understand how important those relationships are. So we're not out there, waiting with a baseball bat asking the client to pay. Instead, we developed a system of these comprehensive reminders. They're friendly, they escalate slowly, but they create this perception that you're no longer, independent, unprotected by anyone, but you have this corporation behind you. And so what we've observed is that the pay time went down from the industry average of 21 days to get an invoice paid through platforms like QuickBooks, for instance, to 4.5 days with us and in our pilot, which was really exciting. So just without any threats, without anything imposing, people pay freelancers faster. And it is if you're using Joust. And of course, we pay up front, so you can get the funds instantly, which is pretty exciting. Right. Yeah.
Wow.
So we started with a bank account. We said, we can't just build an invoicing tool. We have to have a holistic view into our freelancers' kind of overall health as an entity. And so we said, why not give them a real bank account, right? FDIC insured bank account with an account number, routing number, covered up to $250,000 by the federal government. So we build that trust to kind of begin with. Okay. And we build that trust by asking you all the questions we need to open a bank account. These are regulatorily mandated questions, right? We ask for your social security, for your address, and then we know that you are in fact who you are. It gives us a peace of mind that you're not a fraudster, you haven't created a fake account, none of that, kind of scary stuff. Then we give you a merchant account because we know that you need to be able to accept credit cards and bank transfers. And so now we can see your receivables as well, because we process those payments for you, and we know that if there's something pending or not, right, on the other side of that invoice. It gives us another sort of a data point and peace of mind. And then, of course, last but not least, we give you an invoicing tool. So we build a really comprehensive invoicing solution that will replace everything else you're using. It's highly customizable. You can attach your logo to it, for instance. You can set reminders. You can set recurring, non-recurring. You add discounts, add taxes, and a number of other things. It's better than any other solution out there in the market.
So one question, since you're going over some of those specifics, one thing that comes up a lot is there a way to create an invoice where people can pay the the upfront? Like web designers, a lot of times we charge 50% upfront, 50% later. Can that be done?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
We facilitate that easily. So you could ask for 50% up front. You can ask for 90%, whatever the percent you want. You can ask for it up front. Or if you don't feel comfortable asking your client for that amount up front, you can just basically sell it to Joust right there on the spot. In essence, we take the responsibility of asking for the rest of the invoice. And for a small fee, you just say, look, I need the money today, and can you front me the amount of the invoice? Or can you guarantee the receipt within 30 days? That's another function we have. So for instance, if you don't need the money today, but the client is consistently a quarter late, especially large corporations do it all the time, right? They deprioritize freelancers. Vice News is known for it, where they either don't pay writers or pay them a couple of quarters late. And we know that Vice is going to pay, for instance, but they're going to pay very late. And so we pay you on a 30th day. That's that way you can manage your cash flows and not have to live with the anxiety of calling people.
This is really exciting. Congratulations for getting this off the ground.
Thank you. It's been challenging, but it's been incredibly exciting, especially dealing with banking. It's not just an invoicing solution. We do work with a brick and mortar bank on the back end that lets us do that for our freelancers. We white label the account, but the money is actually stored in an established bank. So it's safe and secure. And then the payments are processed by an established payments company. We're just a kind of a technology layer that our clients interact with. That's the cool part about Joust.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, I put the URL up there so people can go out and check it out. So is there anything else that you would like to share with us? I know you guys are going to have Victoria at the event at FreeCon here in a couple of weeks. And you guys are providing the coffee and the snacks. We're so appreciative for that. Keep us all fueled up for the day. What else would you like a freelancer that's sitting out there listening to this right now to know about what you guys are doing?
Oh yeah, so we've been out in the market in a public beta since January, and we listen to our customers pretty closely. We've had so many different requests, like we want peer-to-peer solution. We want to be able to put a logo and a picture and a thank you note inside of our invoices. And so we are working hard on releasing what we call a 2.0 version, or a public version that's coming out in November. Wow. So I want all the listeners to know that this is going to be incredibly exciting. The look and feel has changed. We've adjusted colors. It's a really fun app to interact with. It's kind of soothing.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make banking and payments soothing, but it's also fun. Like it's the colors are really sort of pleasant to look at and not necessarily too bright or too muted. And I would love for folks to download it, and especially in November with the 2.0, and kind of play around with it and continue to give us feedback. We want to continue improving our product.
Well, fantastic. The other thing that I was going to, oh my goodness, you go to say a sentence and it walks out of your head, just like runs out of your head as soon as you go to say it. Actually, let me look at your site real quick, because it was something that popped up on your site that was like, oh man, I want to ask about that. Oh, it was a sliding scale. Real quick, tell me about that. That was pretty interesting. You go into a bank and you're like, okay, what are the fees going to be? You have a sliding scale you get to pick. Talk about that for a sec.
Yeah. So we piloted the concept of pay what you think is fair. And we've been doing it for like 9 months, but we've been really waiving most of the fees, trying to figure out what our users think Joust is worth. And so that kind of helped us develop a pricing plan for going forward. So we'll have 3 tiers. We'll have a free app for most of users, from most of our users who want to use a bank account and send invoices. Then we'll have a paid plan, and the fee structure is still being developed. So I'm not gonna discuss it in great detail, but it's also very affordable. It's a monthly fee that gives you access to a whole slew of tools. And then for more kind of professional, tenured, established freelancers or traditional SMBs, small businesses, we have a business plan that has a whole slew of features that they've been asking. So that's the exciting part. But yeah, that sliding scale taught us quite a bit.
Well, definitely go out and check out Joust. I'm excited about this app, and I am so appreciative. And they're right here in Austin, too. So you never know, you may be out and about at an event. You can definitely come out to the freelance conference here in a couple of weeks. If you haven't grabbed your ticket, go ahead. It starts on the 27th of October, goes to the 29th. Joust will be there. They have someone that's going to be floating around the crowd and chatting with people. It sounds like they would like your feedback, which would be awesome. Any last things? One last thing that you want to share with anyone?
Go check out joust.com.
Okay.
And download the apps, and like I said, all of the exciting features coming out in November, and share it with your friends, by the way, too. Like we have a referral program, so every time your friend downloads, we give you $5 in credit. So that's a pretty exciting thing. You can also try, when you sign up, try a promo code. It's try Joust. That's it.
Okay, sounds great.
One word. Yep.
All right. Well, I will see you guys in a couple of weeks, and maybe you and I can meet up for coffee since we're right here in town together. And thank you so much again for your time and sharing what you guys are doing with Joust and just for creating Joust in the first place.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.